when opportunities to parent come along, when we see opportunities to provide guidance, wisdom, reflection, and assistance to others, we must guide and assist with the underlying goal of restoring the Republic. The Census Bureau will count us again in 2010. It is already complaining that people live in strange household combinations with many addresses or none, with many phone numbers, or for 15% of us, with a cell phone number that they can't find. Even with its record-shattering budget for 2010, the Census Bureau doubts they'll know much more about the public part of the Republic than they know now. Even as technology allows government to be more intrusive, it allows individuals to become ever more nimble, anonymous, and flexible. At least if we're not willingly cultivating our own slavery. Not cultivating our own slavery. It is possible, and we are increasingly seeing evidence of this phenomenon, even in Washington. George W. Bush, facing a disastrously failed campaign of occupation in Iraq, asked for a so-called war czar. Many private phone calls were made in hopes of getting a volunteer frontman for America's micromanagement of neocolonialism. Not a soul would sign up to serve the president. A few weeks ago, an active duty 3-star general agreed to be tasked, meaning only that he hasn't quit yet. Many in the Bush-Cheney National Security Team have become casualties of investigations, criminal trials, personal scandals, and less publicly, their loss of faith in the king. We hear that Cheney himself was recently overruled by a 4-star admiral on strategies for a hot war with Iran. Bureaucrats and cowards like to say, if I quit, some other yes man will rise up to take my place. And this is true up to a point. But the power of government is inversely proportional to the number of people saying simply, no thanks. It is happening as we speak. A quiet refusal to take orders, a refusal to serve the government, is not just for generals and admirals. In an age of expensive higher education, ROTC scholarships are going unfilled. Recruiters work overtime to bring in fewer and fewer young people. American mothers and fathers love their children. And whether evangelical or agnostic, Republican or Democrat, they are telling their children to wait before signing up for the military, to stop and think before throwing their life into the empty, soul-destroying, bloody gristmill of imperialism. They may not use these words, but the sentiments are the same. The sentiments are the same. Like the sheep Americans are often accused of being, they are beginning to understand their children are the targets of a hungry government wolf. Do we have any more substantial ideas for restoring the Republic beyond doing the right thing, speaking out against tyranny, and living our lives by no one's leave as free men? It is possible that in doing these things we could be charged and imprisoned, as are many of our military truth-tellers. We could be vilified and maligned. In living our lives as free men, we may risk temporary difficulties from our shaking, tremulous, fearful government. But if we live free, we will have a republic, even if it may seem to be at times a republic of one. A revolution or a collapse, some cosmic act that rips Washington, D.C. from its moorings and sends it swirling off into the Atlantic, each of these would be exciting, no doubt. But to passively wait a month, a year, or a lifetime for what may happen in the larger human organization is not a productive way to live. We are already restoring the Republic if we live, work, and play as if we have one. We restore the Republic by living free. Those here today are already doing this. Our example, our existence in many ways, restores the Republic every minute of every day. Earlier, I mentioned the Lewis Carroll story, Through the Looking Glass, referring to words that mean whatever we say they mean. In this context, Humpty Dumpty goes on. The question, he says, is which is to be master? That's all. Let us be outraged when our Republican freedoms are infringed upon. Let us be righteously angry when some government entity presumes that we are the slave in the relationship. Let us be that nobility to whom the king genuflects and of whom he is afraid. If we live free, even as we hack that life out of a political wilderness, we will restore the Republic and usher in the next big thing, a peaceful, honorable, and enviable Republic that we'll be proud to call home. Thank you. Thanks. happy to. If there's time, yeah, sure.
Would you please repeat the question? Actually, we have a microphone for you.
Okay.
Who's asking a question?
Thank you so much, Karen.
Sure,
You're
thank you.
Would you consider being a running mate with Ron Paul?
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Or vice versa. I do have a question and perhaps a suggestion.
I support Ron Paul. I would do anything Ron Paul asks me to do. So there's your answer.
I was in hopes that you would have a little bit better to say about Ronald Reagan. Surely there are millions in Eastern Europe who are eternally grateful for what he was able to do. And could I suggest a book or a couple of books by Peter Schweitzer, who described in great detail what Reagan was able to do and how he did it to engineer that. Thanks ever so much for being here.
Sure, and I appreciate that. I do want to say something about Ronald Reagan. I come from a family of people that adore Ronald Reagan, and I am actually one of those people. I actually, in my dissertation, every chapter heading was a Reagan quote, and I found some really wonderful. I have huge respect for him, but in terms of delivering small government, this is my, maybe not so much.
Was there any intimidation or threats from the Department of Defense in the last few years of your work there?
Since I left the Pentagon, no, and because I pretty much expedited my own, exit. I was luckily, and this is something, I was ready to retire. I'd come right on to my retirement date. I moved it up as early as I could, and I got out with basically a good deal, which is a lot more that can be said for so many people that have their basically whole lives destroyed. They didn't do anything to me. I was, incidentally, denied my end of tour medal from the Pentagon, and I didn't feel too bad about that.
I want to ask you that in this present war situation we're in, of course, it's a creation of the neoconservatives, and it seems like the one place they haven't been able to make inroads is into the senior officer corps of the military. If that had happened, I'm afraid we might not be meeting here today. Do you think that assessment is correct, that they haven't been able to do that?
Yeah, I think the neocons haven't, and partly because none of them ever wore a uniform in their life. So there's no shared value whatsoever between the senior military and the neoconservatives. However, to suggest that it is the senior military that is somehow holding back these neoconservatives would be wrong. They're not. Admiral Fallon specifically is pushing back because I believe he does not want to see the United States Navy embarrassed by something Cheney will push him into, not because it's an unconstitutional, unwarranted, illegal act that Cheney wants to do with Iran. No, I wouldn't give him too much credit, but it is true that I think there's mutual contempt between the neoconservative ideologues and senior military members. However, we know who bends to who, and it is the military that bends to the politicians. And those politicians are neoconservatives still at this point. So.